What's up, everybody? Welcome inside 2 League Unlock. My name is Eric. The final Friday of July, which, as we all know, means basically summer's over. It's all done. Go start getting your winter coats and boots. They're probably on sale right now. It's about that time. As soon as August comes, before you know it, the kids are back in school and it's all over. The sun will set at 4 p.m. every day and you'll never see the light of day again. So that's what happens when it comes to the end of July. But the end of July also means it's the peak time for competitive League of Legends as the regular season in the summer splits come winding down, and eventually we'll get some news about Worlds, when the dates are officially starting. I think Riot's waiting till a couple weeks before the actual event starts. But today, you had SKT in action in the LCK, and the theme the last couple of series has been no Faker in the lineup, and despite that, they've been winning. They won 4 of their last 5 series, including today, because they took on the Jin Air Green Wings, who have struggled mightily and are playing for promotion at this point in 2018 summer. It was Pirean again who got the start, and it was a dominant win from SKT. In Game 2 in particular, Bang and Blank were completely popping off, which seems to be a theme. When Faker is not in the lineup, they seem to play a lot more aggressive, which begs the question, is SKT actually better with Faker out of the lineup? I know that sounds completely insane. Now, obviously, Faker is a better player than Pirean. There's no arguing that. But you look at how aggressive Bang was in this game. He was playing out of his mind on the Ezreal, not missing a single skill shot. He had 7 kills by 11 minutes. He was getting legendary ridiculously early. I feel like when Faker is not in the lineup, and you heard Papa Smithy talk about it, he just is like, all right, I'm probably the best player on the team. I'm playing super aggressive, and Blank, to the same extent, or some degree the same extent, just seems to play a lot more aggressively. They look a whole lot more comfortable. I don't know if they feel like there's extra pressure added onto them when Faker is in the lineup, because SKT is just expected to win when they have the greatest player in the history of the game playing. But I mean, you saw during their peak times where SKT would defer to Bang as the featured carry. You had Faker going on things like Lulu, and Bang's popping off on the likes of Lucian. So maybe the strategy here is to just have Faker out of the lineup so that you can see, look, you guys are actually still a good team. Because when you're comparing Faker and Pirean, we now have a big enough sample size where we can look at the numbers of Pirean and compare them to that of Faker. Faker is still better. Pretty much across the board. I mean, I know the KDA is a little bit lower, but Pirean has still played not nearly as many games. So, no, SKT is not a better team without Faker, but I think having him removed from the lineup is going to help them in the long run. And I do expect to see Pirean keep playing until he loses a game. They got a tough schedule coming up. So I think as soon as you see Pirean drop a set or drop a game, you're probably going to see Faker come in, unless it's maybe Game 1, I don't know, but once Pirean starts losing, unless maybe he goes on a Blank-esque streak and wins 20 games in a row and guides SKT to a World's berth, which, is very unlikely. But Faker, not in the lineup, and I know that Pirean has been playing against not the highest level of competition. They've been playing MVP, the sub-B squad against Hanwha Life, BBQ, and now Jin Air. So literally the bottom 4 teams in the LCK he's been matched up against. Once they start playing these top-tier teams, you got to assume Faker will be back into the lineup. But I'm just hoping, for the sake of SKT, that Bang and Blank can see, you know what? Get some confidence rolling. We're still good players. And then when you get Faker back in the lineup, SKT will be a well-oiled machine again. But nonetheless, now they're sitting pretty at 7-7, and they do have a chance at making the playoffs if we look at the LCK standings here in the middle of week 6 as we go forward. Today was the final Friday of games, by the way, going forward the last couple of weeks. No Friday games. Papa Smithy and co. get the day off to start their weekend before coming back on the Saturday and Sunday. But SKT is sitting there at 7-7, one game, just one game behind the likes of Afrika and Hanwha Life, who are sitting at 8-6. There's one final playoff spot to be had between those 3 teams. You got to assume the top 4 are probably locked in Griffin, Genji, KT Rolster, and Kingzone, but that 5th spot is still very much in the air. Afrika and Hanwha have both looked a little bit questionable as of late. So SKT, I mean, their playoff chances are looking a whole lot better than they did a couple of weeks ago, and even when they started off 0-3, the hopes and dreams for not only playoffs but Worlds are still a very distant reality for SKT fans. But, you know, they've got to be stirring up a little bit of confidence. It helps for them to have kind of been beating up on some of these bottom feeders the last couple of weeks. But the problem for them is because they had all those easy matchups, you know what's going to come to close out the 2018 summer split. They have 4 games left, and me oh my, it's some tough competition. It gets going against Gen G, then Afrika, then Griffin, and they wrap up the regular season. And you know it's probably going to be a must-win or very important game for them on the final day. And of course, they get the 2-time defending champs in Kingzone. So that's about as tough a schedule as you can get. Maybe sub out Afrika for KT. But we know the history there with the Telecom Wars. So that probably is the most difficult schedule SKT could possibly have to wrap up their regular season. The SKT Gen G gets going this weekend, which is going to be absolutely amazing because there's a high chance that you're going to be seeing Fly and Pirean match up with playoff implications on the line. 2 former NA bottom feeder mid laners who are actually looking pretty darn solid in the LCK so far. But I mean, for SKT to have any chance, they probably have to win at least 2 of those games, maybe even more than that, which is a tall task for SKT, unless they keep playing like they did in Game 2 against Jin Air. Expect Pirean to start until he loses, but once Faker comes back in the lineup, the question is, can Blank and Bang continue to play at the level that we saw against Jin Air? Because if they do, SKT probably has a legitimate chance at making playoffs.